Yeah, we're about to get NRG versus G2 underway. And Corelli, as Gibbs just got done saying on the desk, this is only the second time in regionals that these two teams have matched up against each other, which feels like, how has that only happened for the second time so far?
It is a very strange stat. And I mean, these guys play a lot in the grid, though. I mean, there is no doubt that these guys know what they're going up against. And I think the most interesting thing about this matchup here, now that we get it for, the second time, is, looking at the shooting, both these teams lead the league in shots per game, over 10 for each team, number 1 and 2. And I think it's really going to come down to who can defend the shots, who doesn't crumble under the pressure, because they clearly lead the league. They don't feel the type of pressure that these teams are normally used to putting onto the opposition.
Yeah, both of these teams very comfortable on offense, and like James was saying, anybody can pull off anything on this field. These are two of the Titans of North America for a reason, but for G2's mark, as Squishy puts the shot on, and it's saved initially by Rizzo. Garrett is challenged right back into Justin, who got the pop on the carry, but will be knocked away again. For G2's mark, you have Chicago, who leads the league in assists. Hang on a second, Justin, one more double touch. It came clean off the rebound, and Squishy will put the first goal in for NRG.
Well, Jorby, I gotta say, G2 struggling here right off the bat, and it's very clear NRG have the upper hand as far as the shooting department goes here in the first minute. 4 shots already, and NRG all over the back wall of G2, using it to their advantage. G2 not able to keep up with the pace at which NRG are playing right now. They have got their work cut out for them as NRG look to put on the pressure once again.
Yeah, they just couldn't get a favorable 50 in that interesting challenge that happened by Garrett up high in front of the box that came off the ceiling right into Justin's bumper. That's where things started to snowball for G2. Everyone had to retreat back. They weren't able to secure boost as well, and that's where you saw JSTNs in Chicago. Well, it's Rizzo on the pass to Chicago, getting the goal.
Look what Rizzo does here. Just bangs Squishy out of the way, and it's a wide open net. I mean, I guess Justin was there, but it's tough to defend from that position. Nobody was on the goal line. Justin was coming in and out of the net. Chicago easily put away, knowing the defender is in that type of position. And G2 they're 1 for 1, so they're shooting 100%, and that might matter more as they do find the equalizer.
Interesting little carry by Squishy, and he found Garrett, but it's off the crossbar. Justin is good. Gets the goal, and it's 2-1 NRG.
And curious to know what happened to the G2 defense here. Nobody, the third man not back yet. JSTNs initially on the challenge, does get the block there, races back to try and make up for the open net. And NRG, now 7 shots in the first 2 minutes, up by 1.
Yeah, maybe JSTNs expecting harder shot to the corner, which is why it was racing by, and then by the time the shot actually happens, JSTNs going too fast to actually slow down and take a better approach on the challenge. But either way, NRG respond again. G2 look for another tying goal here in front, and there are some leaky challenges that are coming off this back wall on both sides now, Corelli, with some interesting challenges in between them.
Yeah, up until this point, NRG doing a great job of not letting G2 into that kind of rhythm, into the mojo that G2 like to get into. And now you're seeing, at least there for the last 30 seconds or so, G2 were able to break out, find some space, find each other. Rizzo sweeping through defenses to try and find a player to bump, or Demo opens up. Oh, he just gets one right there. But unfortunately, Garrett's going to pick it off, and a 2-goal lead back in favor of NRG.
Yeah, Rizzo ended up running into JSTNs, and no chance after that. If JSTNs gets the boost before he gets bumped, maybe he has a chance to get back in time. But it killed all of his forward momentum when he's sitting on 0 boost. So great job, Rizzo. You got the demo. But JSTNs also ran into you, so you neutralize any benefit. And in fact, you give yourself, or it's quite to your own detriment, as he got scored on again. And NRG, it will pick you apart, as they have twice already. G2 struggling to get going.
And right as I had mentioned it too, Rizzo has been sweeping through NRG's defense, and even through the midfield, just being a bully to not let NRG get away with any easy touches. But at the moment, none of those demos are really paying off for them. In fact, maybe even overextending for them, as G2 now trying to find a passing play. Do find the shot to the left side is turned away by Squishy.
Another good challenge by Garrett. Couldn't quite get behind the brunt of that ball. Now Justin got caught on the back wall, and Chicago puts it in. G2, while it hasn't looked pretty, they're within one.
Look at this touch by Rizzo. Wonderfully done to space. Look how far back Justin and Squishy are into that. They're inside their goal. And Justin once again going for the in-and-out save. But that leaves that space between the goal line and the top of the box for Rizzo to drop that ball down. Wonderfully done. Great vision from Rizzo to recognize the defense, read it properly, and then play the ball to your teammate for an easy shot.
Ooh, NRG almost took it right back. A good save and transition here by G2. Now the ball's just neutral in midfield. You still collect a boost on the other end, and as long as you can put shots on like that, well, it doesn't matter if you got it clean. You're able to put some pressure on NRG, but Garrett takes that pass in front. Chicago will cut it back off. And G2, you know, for all the talk about maybe some we'll call it micro sloppiness, that shot right in the middle of the net, Justin picked up the save. Other than those few mistakes that NRG have punished Corelli, it's been pretty good for G2 as they have another push here with 45 seconds left.
Well, you're seeing a shift in the game. G2 definitely getting more of a foothold in that midfield and really backing up NRG into their side. Every once in a while, you're hearing a demo. That's Rizzo still coming through the NRG defense, and that's why they've been backed up so far, but you can't give time and space to Justin as he pushes it by the defense.
Justin, incredibly hard to get, or incredibly hard just to beat in general. It's just a nice push forward. He sees JNaps coming up, but he's already got perfect lead on the ball. So as soon as JNaps cuts in, Justin wins. Cut in, easy goal for NRG. He picks up the ball again here. Got one touch, thinks he has it off the ceiling, and he does, because his name is Justin.
He's got 17 boosts, but that's more than enough to make it happen, and great. You can see even on the ceiling, he slows down just a bit because he's going too fast. Doesn't have a lot of boost to correct once he comes off the ceiling. So he slows down just enough to read it off the back wall, and a great shot, a sharp angle into the net. Tough for that defender to read.
And during the pre-show today, a lot of us say that NRG, why does it feel like they're struggling at times? Well, they haven't really struggled in this regional in particular, but it's more so the games that, you know, the X-Set games, the Jamal Jabari games that people look at on NRG and they say, oh, see, this team, they can't really compete at the top if they can't put away these teams. But this is the reality. NRG still find themselves at the top at the end of every single tournament, almost every single tournament. This team is ridiculous. And it took a little bit of time, not a lot of time, but a little bit of time for Squishy to really get the correct feel on this NRG roster, and he's not the same type of player anymore that he was on Cloud9. He's definitely been put into kind of a different role. He's not going to be he's not going to always go for the crazy, super hard to do mechanics anymore, but his challenge game is so good. Squishy got so much done, so much open for his team in game number 1 for NRG. Justin, 4 goals, obviously.
NRG in particular, when we talk about, what we said about in the pre-show, when they're uncomfortable, they're consistently uncomfortable. I think they are more comfortable playing against a team like G2 than they are Jamal Jabari. I think they're more comfortable here against G2, and I think that was shown in that first game. What was it, 14 shots put on that G2 defense, and it was G2 that looked quite comfortable, or uncomfortable, excuse me.
It might get even more uncomfortable for G2, but if they can start the pace of the game the way they want to, then maybe it gets a little bit easier for them to find offense. JNaps kept the last defender locked on the goal line, and Chicago picks up the first.
And Justin had a lot of boost too, but when it came down to play the ball, he just gets tapped. Just a little tap by JNaps, and that's enough to throw him off, and that ball finds its way into the net.
Oh man, the old love check in hockey, where it's not a true forecheck, but it was enough to get you off the puck. No problem. It's the same thing for them. But honestly, the ball from JNaps is great, but it's the vision again from Rizzo Corelli. Last time he got a goal on recognizing the defense's positioning, and he did the same thing, using the ceiling to his advantage to create space for G2 on offense.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
no, you're good.
I'm watching on Justin's camera. He's very often the third man for NRG in these types of situations. He's literally having to run away from G2 attackers. That time it was Chicago. He saw it miles in advance. Chicago was coming for him, even at the top of the box, and he immediately turns out and uses his boost to get away from Chicago. And that is the threat that G2 provides. You know, a lot of times it is Rizzo. JNAPS and Chicago also pitch in, and it buys the space. There's a demo from Squishy. Is that enough from Justin? It is. And a tie game for NRG.
And even when things do go right for G2, well, Squishy gets in the way. He even made it kind of awkward for JNAPS, although I don't think the position really mattered for that challenge. But then the demo just gives a free lane for Justin from midfield to launch it. So it still goes right for NRG regardless.
And very clearly the physical game is a huge factor for both sides. Obviously with just that goal, but even in that last game, you saw a lot of bumping, a lot of demos come out. I think the stat favors G2 at the moment as far as demos and bumps, but NRG, they also can get in there and cause some mayhem on the G2 side.
Garrett splits through two, and that is a dangerous ball in front of the box, but probably the best way Chicago could have handled it after the fact, back around to midfield. But Justin just able to snake the ball away again. Rizzo sitting downfield, gets one touch on the backboard, but rest of G2, that was really a time-saving touch that Rizzo gave G2. Collect some more boost. Chicago almost putting another in himself. Garrett demoing him on his way out. G2 struggling at the moment to stay on the blue half. It looks good though for, as soon as I say that. Oh, it looks good for G2. Woo, close one. Much better than the mistakes that were just constantly being punished. Not that they were making a ton of them. Great approach by Chicago. They got to do it again. Squishy having to avoid Rizzo on the play. Couldn't quite find the net at that tough angle.
It has looked slightly better for G2 here in this game, only because they're preventing a lot more opportunity for NRG. That's not to say that NRG haven't been dangerous, because they certainly have, but the score clearly not getting away from them, and they've been able to generate their own chances quite consistently as well. They've backed up NRG multiple times. Rizzo almost getting a piece of Squishy, but look how far back JNAPS and Chicago have to be. And JNAPS trying to take it himself, almost dunks it through here. Chicago to lob it up. Rizzo's gonna go. No boost for Squishy. Things got dicey for NRG, but they get out.
JNAPS back around to the corner again for G2. How many times have had to launch high from their own corner? Nice carry from JNAPS to midfield. All about that follow-up touch, though. Chicago couldn't get a solid one, so here we come with NRG. Garrett forcing JNAPS to wrap around him. The ball right back into Justin. Chicago gets the touch out to the corner. They're not out of danger just yet. Squishy high off the backboard to Justin, who kicks it high again, and G2 are able to survive, forcing NRG to the sides and back to the blue half.
You know what I love about that play? Even though NRG doesn't score there, did you see how hard Squishy hit that ball off the back wall? And he knows with a player like Justin on your team, he's at least going to prevent that. Because that pass, in most situations, turns into a counterattack for their team. Because you hit it so hard, it comes so far out. But a player like Justin can read that and get up so quickly to prevent that from happening.
Oh, and NRG are definitely the type of team in comms, too, as Garrett almost finds the net. You know, to be like, bang it, just bang it off the wall. Like, I'm ready for that. And then easily get that one up. And, I mean, you've heard NRG's comms. They chirp a lot. There's a lot of talking going on, especially when a series gets to crunch, or a game gets to crunch time. And that's where we are with 40 seconds left. And NRG sticking to the orange half like glue. Squishy pops up for the next one on the air dribble. Squishy Muffins getting in front of Chicago, but is back around to the corner. And it slows down for one moment. Garrett speeds it back up with a hard push against the backboard, and G2 have a transition from Rizzo back to Chicago. Double never comes. Justin got the rebound. JNAPS light shot, and Squishy will launch it downfield.
What a read from Justin there on the defensive side of things. Chicago was bearing down the second touch. Squishy gets a demo. Can he get back around to it? He's going to play it off the wall to Garrett. He is there. Justin, can he drop it down? It's cleared away by Chicago. And Squishy wants Justin from the ceiling. He might get it too. Justin kills it. Down to Squishy. Justin away. What a play. It's not a top 5. It's the #1 play.
This absolutely maniacal, ridiculous man of a player in an octane. The most unassuming car, the most unassuming guy, just does the most ridiculous things I've ever seen on the pitch.
Wow.
The control, the pass, the squish in between 3 G2 defenders. yeah, good play. NRG, they win the game. But it gets a little more difficult for G2 now, Corelli. And it is a long match. You're talking about a best of 7. But NRG are proving quite a tough cookie. And Justin is definitely the reason behind it right now.
Yeah, he surely has been. He was a huge catalyst in game 1 individually, and then here in game 2 to clutch things up in a game where it felt much closer between these two teams as well. It felt like G2 had opportunity early on, especially that first half, and then you can start to feel like, or see NRG got a bit more of a foothold. They were able to have a lot more possession. They were a lot more dangerous on offense. They backed up G2. G2 were a little bit more spread out than I think they would typically like. And again, another uncomfortable game for G2.
Just so much time for Squishy to get around to the corner, and that shot denied by JNaps, but this isn't the spot G2 want to be in. You see Chicago had to slow down for a second because he was absolutely expecting Squishy to hard push that ball. And in a limited boost situation that G2 are in, they needed it. And they just haven't found that angle. They tried a couple times too to go on NRG's back wall, their backboard, even whether it's a demo or just getting that unexpected redirect as JNaps takes a nice flick. Oh, right over the last defender. And JNaps wants to right the ship for G2.
And poor Squishy, he had 40 boost coming into this, fakes the challenge, but I think went too far wide when he turned around. He might have been trying to pick up that full boost in the corner. And JNaps knew that if he didn't get it, he could put it to the far side, and it'd be a tough stretch even with boost for Squishy to get to. And he just ran out of boost coming up to it. Great play in a 1v1 situation from JNaps.
And for G2, you can say, great, you got the goal, you got the first goal, now you can really start to score in bunches or put on the aggression like we know G2 can. However, no, NRG just somehow whip control of the game back into their lane. And G2 just have to fight for every single possession, every single touch, because even when it feels like they finally got lead on offense, well, NRG, they just wrap around and they have your shot blocked already. So if they can hold on to this lead and prevent NRG from responding quickly, which they're doing a fine job of right now, and maybe getting lead on the attempted flip reset.
Here comes the counter.
Here's Justin, and it's just off the mark, but the rebound, a little hard for Garrett to get to, and G2 fortunate on the last one.
Oh, that was a very close counter for NRG, just the shot off. And anytime the things kind of get chaotic inside that NRG box, Justin's downfield, they feed it to him. They know he can go up and get it, and he even beat the last defender to put that shot on target. So for G2, it's been some good plays so far, but they got to be careful. The second they leave a gap in the midfield, NRG can strike.
Now Rizzo does his best to worm around the NRG defense, but they've consistently had to field boomers from NRG's third. They'll respond with a boomer of their own. Hard touch from JNaps in Chicago. Little bit of space, avoids one defender, but the second got to him. That was Squishy, and JNaps, his shot will be easily defended by Justin. Still, it's G2 in midfield, picked off by Justin again, just so quick to the ball, and G2 can't hang on to anything beyond the midfield line.
And here they come. It's just Justin back. Rizzo's going for him, and he does get the stop, but Justin still makes the save. Had all of G2 coming after him, and still keeps G2 at bay.
Oh, he's like, just, I don't know how he's wheeling around everybody, but the jukes from Justin. And here he's got to make another save. He picks it up, rebound, another shot for G2, but Garrett's ready for it. Any shot G2 has, NRG can defend better. G2, though, still retains the lead. So maybe they have the last laugh as Garrett can't quite find Squishy. Garrett even got the demo on the backside, but Squishy just missing the connection. Still Justin, another demo, that time from Squishy. NRG feeling the urgency for a goal as we approach a minute left.
Yeah, there's been a lot of great opportunity as this one is going to be cleared away by Rizzo. G2 trying to hold on to this 1-goal lead, and they have been with some good counters of their own and pushing NRG back into their own side. See if they can put another one here together. NRG are getting a bit more desperate for some of these plays. They're seeing more players kind of cut in the rotation to make sure that they can keep this ball on, to keep the ball on the G2 side. And it's just not happening right now. G2 doing a great job of not letting NRG have any space.
Nice little move from Squishy. Squishy with a nice third move. Does he have a fourth in him? No, he has to fall back to the ground for G2 to clear the ball again. Maybe 2 more pushes left in the tank for NRG. As time winds to a close, Garrett gets in the way of Justin on the play, and while the net was defended, it's not the kind of pressure you want to put on G2. However, on this play,
here he comes.
Gives Justin the ball, a little bit of boost, 24, and a flip reset off the crossbar. Rizzo flips it back over to the side. Squishy, kick that back into Justin. No way. No, he won't have any chance at it. G2, long clear. If they can kill the ball, they will claim a game victory.
I was surprised they claimed it there, but yeah, too many times Justin gets the ball with boost and space there at the last, 10, 15 seconds.
Yeah, that missed touch at the end where it kicked out in front of him, and he just missed on the flip reset. I thought for sure that was G2's doom. But another point to credit you got to give G2 is, NRG, we're really trying for the tactical demos. Now, maybe just a free range demoing. Everyone gets a demo for NRG now. They couldn't score last time, so now all the G2 cars going to be blowing up after that. But my point that I was trying to say is that G2 handled those demos really well. Because NRG were going to them fairly often. Like, not on every push, but enough to keep G2 honest and, making sure they were aware of the positions of all 3 NRG players.
Yeah, I think it has been a physical game for both sides here. As again, so waiting for JNAPS to get in front of them to clear the path. Unfortunately, slowing down the play, let the rotating players, the transitioning players, I should say, from NRG to get back, and that one's going to drop in for JNAPS off the touch from Justin, and a 1-0 lead once again for G2.
Yeah, and it's a nice shot, but Justin ended up flipping and had to recover quickly to get back down onto the ground on Squishy's touch. Was expecting to have to play that ball, then having to recover. Didn't help his case at all in trying to make that JNAP save. For G2, they start with a lead again, and they held NRG scoreless for the whole 5 minutes. As scary as it might have looked. Justin, no, totally calculated, Corelli. He always meant to drop it right there as a beautiful Christmas gift for Garrett.
Yeah, surely no one from G2 would read the trap on the goal line from Justin. Yeah, man. They'll be happy that it doesn't go through, but G2 once again threatening NRG are able to break out here. Justin and Garrett coming together. Now Squishy has a shot and is turned away by JNAPS.
Oh, nice hit from JNAPS into the corner in a 3-man passing play to get downfield. It comes off the ceiling into Chicago's bumper for a G2 goal.
I didn't know if Chicago could get over it. He had 38 boost. It's a tough ball to deal with. It came by so fast. And he does get over it just enough to put it in. And G2, or keep messing them up, NRG getting caught on transition there a little bit. The speed of G2 catching up with them. And now a healthy 2-goal lead for G2. And I think they're quite happy with the way this game has gone so far. Not only 2 for 2 on the shots, but really haven't given a lot of opportunity here to NRG.
Yeah, they're not getting caught out in the boost game nearly as often. They're winning more of these challenges in the third. They're not in a situation where they constantly have to boom the ball back to NRG. So they've had a lot more success that way. But there's plenty of time, and as you see right now, NRG, you can always flip the script in their favor at any point. As soon as they start winning 1 or 2 challenges in a row, that's enough to flip a match like this. These games, these big tight matches between teams like NRG and G2 almost always are won in the trenches, in the challenge game. And that is always flowing. There's never one team that is staunchly dominant in that aspect of the game at this level.
Especially when you throw in the physical side of it too. When you talk about the challenge game, if there's no one there to physically challenge, it makes it a lot easier for you on offense. And that's why we've seen these teams, at least in the beginning of this series, really go for those demos. I think it's calmed down a little bit here, especially now that G2 holds a 2-goal lead. I think NRG are more concerned about how do we get out of our end and put a good attack on the other side, more as to just remove G2 players just because you can.
Yeah, it hasn't been a harrowing assault from G2 in this game. They only have 2 shots on net, but they've converted both of those. That one won't turn into a shot. Justin got lead on the ball, and he'll receive from Garrett. To NRG's credit, this will be their 5th. Justin getting credited with the shot attempt, but NRG now trying just to dribble down the middle of the field, force a bad 50, maybe a dunk. Something has to work against G2 because right now nothing is.
We talk a lot about the shots here, and I did a lot in the beginning of the matchup because it indicates pressure, it indicates opportunities to score in whatever fashion that may be. And what's interesting is that, you know, G2, #1 team in the North American League to have over 10 shots per game. What's funny is in this series in particular, it's been more of the quality of shots. They've actually had a very high shooting percentage. They've been able to put away even the small amount of chances that they've had, and here comes G2 once again to maybe put away a third.
And that will be a challenge perfect for Rizzo to receive, but Justin somehow Houdini's his way out of that, and Justin puts NRG back into the game, but this was wonderful teamwork down the field.
Yeah, great play to Squishy. Justin drops down, goes for the bump, smacks him out of the way. The ball hits him in the back, and he'll get credit for the goal as well. NRG cuts the lead in half.
I love that piece of color analysis, Corelli. You know, Justin went for the air tackle and looked like a god getting the redirect into the net. You're like, no. Justin had no intention of hitting that ball. The ball had every intention of hitting Justin. And NRG pull within one. That one tough for Garrett, but he got to the challenge in time for JNAPS. G2 content to play the challenge game in the blue half of the field. So long as it's only for the next 20 seconds here. It comes again.
Wow.
170-degree angle double by JNAPS.
Yeah, that was a nice shot, Justin just said in chat, and that is definitely a nice shot. Look at that angle from JNAPS to put that one away. I might put the game away here so long as this kickoff goes well for G2. That is a phenomenal touch from JNAPS.
I think we have ourselves quite a match on our hands, Corelli. It started with a strong NRG 2-0, but G2, they've come roaring back, haven't they?
Yeah, they certainly have.
3-1 scoreline at the end.
And they've looked better and better. And you're noticing the game has actually slowed down a little bit here with these two teams. When NRG was in control, they were able to speed up the game because I think they are just a little bit faster than G2. When the game comes into control for G2, the gameplay slows down a little bit. It's a lot more methodical for them. And even though I think G2 got backed up a lot more here in this game than NRG, they were never uncomfortable. They weathered some of the shots, some of the storm that NRG put on. That's going to happen against a team like NRG, but they did a good job of turning them away, even putting up or having to fight off 9 shots. G2 only had 5 of their own, but they made them count. 3 out of 5 is a phenomenal percentage here against a team like NRG, and they've done well to earn themselves a second win in this series.
It is such a different approach from G2 at this part of the match because, like you said, they weren't playing, you know, and G2 haven't been just 100% super aggressive team for a while, but that is still kind of their MO. And against this team, they do have to approach the game a little bit differently. They were trying to play fast in those first 2 games. That wasn't really working. Well, how often have I seen a 3 for 5 success rate on goals shot as a team, Corelli? Wow, 5 shots on net, but you convert 3 of them. Like, G2 will take the efficiency all day. And if that's the kind of play style that's going to get them the win, they'll do it as long as they have to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That high of percentage is really unheard of in a lot of games. Now, of course, I mean, teams put away that type of percentage all the time, but it's very tough to do against a team like NRG. And so now it'll be up to G2 to now string together a couple more wins here. NRG have to find maybe a new game plan, or at least try and find form that they did in the first 2 games.
And then you don't need to put the magnet back on Justin so the ball finds its way to him again. That might be what it takes to get NRG back into this, because they're now facing 2 game losses in a row to G2. But as these matches have always gone, it's never the end of the road early, and Garrett G forcing JNAPS off the play, whether or not they were both going for the ball. Doesn't matter. Nice cut from Rizzo. He's looked good today, hasn't he? Oh, yeah. Nice fake, nice bump, nice shot. Chicago couldn't quite get it by Squishy as he got turned around. You love how it developed for G2, though.
No, I do want to point out Rizzo, though, because you're right. He has had a great day. Even in that, I think back to game 1, where he was dishing the ball out to his teammates. And he does the thing that Rizzo has always done on this team. He's been a bully, and he's been a lot more efficient about it lately in the last couple of seasons, where he's been able to find demos bumped without intruding on that G2 playstyle, without taking himself out of the play. And it's paid off in a massive way, especially when you go up against teams like NRG.
Next touch here for Squishy is NRG hunt for what would be their second goal in as long as over 10 minutes of gameplay. They scored one last game, shut out in the previous. The offense has been out to lunch for NRG. However, Garrett G, just off the post, can't quite sneak his way into a goal. Justin, though, can't squelch that ball through two defenders. And NRG may be finding their problems exacerbated here as G2 thwart another two attacks.
Yeah, and NRG, you start to get a little bit worried about them. They're finding less and less opportunity. Here's Justin, though, individually. Can he do it himself? He wants to go back post. Turned away. Will register the second shot for NRG, but that had no chance of going in. And G2 have done a phenomenal job here in this game of shutting down NRG so far.
Yeah, look, they're not going to bite. They'll let NRG push forward on these pushes. That first man, he will absolutely go down, play aggressive, and force you into a certain opportunity onto the ball. Garrett actually grabs this rebound and picks up the first goal for NRG.
And this one's simply just a missed ball from JNaps. Chicago couldn't read the shot. That's unfortunate for G2 because they were playing quite well halfway through this game. Prevented NRG from having any real chance, and unfortunately one simple mistake cost them the goal, and now down by one.
But you still, despite that, I still like this approach. One whiff doesn't change my opinion on how G2 have played in the middle part of this match. Twitchy finds Justin, though, and now I'm seeing shades of game one again, where this is just leaking out midfield for an NRG goal.
And it's something we mentioned a couple games ago. Even though the game may be in control of G2, even if G2 are looking good, when they get caught out on the transition, when they send too many players forward, or when they're crept up too far, NRG have been able to beat them on the transition. They do it there for the second goal.
Well, high ball here for JNaps. Not over for G2 in the uppers if they end up dropping this game. But it certainly gets a lot more tense. Game sixes as the team on match point is never too fun. These goals are never too fun to watch get scored on if you're G2.
Oh, JNaps got demoed in the other corner, on the NRG corner. And in between the time when he got demoed and when he spawns, that ball is lofted towards the net, and he just didn't have enough time to get to the other side of the net. Both Rizzo and Chicago were playing the ball on the other side of the field and, of course, lost it. So for NRG, a third goal, and this scoreline is certainly not indicative of how this game has gone, in my opinion, at least so far. NRG now definitely warming up. You said the offense was out to lunch, and they are certainly now back in office here against G2. And I really do think it comes down to that initial goal given up by G2. All of a sudden, NRG's like, well, okay, I guess we're back in it. Here we are, and all of a sudden they've come alive.
And NRG, it isn't like G2 are making a ton of mistakes. NRG forced their way forward on, 2 or 3 bad challenges or mistakes from G2. It's singular mistakes, errors from G2 that are causing the ball to roll into the net. NRG have just punished every single one, and that has to be so frustrating to where a team's just clicking so well on the day that if you're not playing perfectly, then the ball's in your net. And G2, they played relatively perfect Rocket League the last 2 games. NRG got completely stunted, but the ball leaked past midfield 2 times in this game for a goal. Everybody got caught out, whether it be because of a demo or someone got chipped or something. Some of them aren't even G2 errors outright. They're forced into bad spots some of the time. And so maybe it is just the strength of NRG overall in this game, and less so, the singular whiff that JNaps had for the mental game.
We'll see. Like I said before coming into this game, what needs to change for NRG? And well, right now it's just been, picking apart G2 on the mistakes on the transition. But what happens when those aren't given to you, right? What happens when G2 don't mess up on offense and leave the backfield wide open? What happens then for NRG, where the last 2 games before this, G2 have completely controlled and didn't really look uncomfortable? So for now, I think NRG come away with a 4-0 victory. But if G2 comes back in the same fashion they did at the beginning of this game, could be a different series here.
Definitely. I do think that one thing is almost certain for G2. If NRG score first, this match might just be over. G2 have had to score first in order to secure game victories. One of the games was literally 1-0, and it was still a 1-goal victory for G2 the other way as well. So I'm a little worried for G2 heading into game 6. However, they do find a way in situations like this where they don't look the best in game 5, and then they head into a match point game and play out of their minds. And they've played out of their minds for like 2.5 games this set. So it's not even beyond doubt that it could happen.
Yeah, I think the worst case scenario for G2 is just full-on collapse. I don't think that's going to happen. They're too disciplined. They're too good to let that happen against a team that they are very comfortable playing against. They know what they're going up against when they play NRG. So for G2, obviously, you're in a tough spot here in this series. You're coming off of a tough game, but you know what you can do against NRG.
And for NRG, if G2 are to force a game 7, well, it might be in that extended pressure situation, might pick on Justin a little bit more. They demoed him a lot at the start of game 3, where they started their comeback at the beginning of that game, and then he had issues pretty much the rest of that game, all the way leading up to the final minute. But he's also a little jumpy on the goal line, I've noticed. The NRG have not been short of a couple double commits along their way, and Justin's typically been involved in a lot of those. That's a nice play from Rizzo, but the confidence in G2's offense on the play died right before that touch.
And G2, look at this. Look what we're seeing in the first minute. A lot of control, a lot of space for them, backing up NRG. That's a great challenge from Justin to get NRG out. But that first 45 seconds to go, if G2 can keep that on, they're going to be in a good spot here.
NRG not going to bite either. This might be a lot of what game 6 is. G2 can't quite find a shot. Oh, and Chicago wanted a quick turnaround for JNAPS. He might have just let that one go, but I thought he was teeing up JNAPS for a really quick, clear transition down the pitch for G2. Now Chicago will try yet again, but you see NRG got dunked, and Garrett can't make the save. Chicago, big dunk.
It looked rather innocuous here from Chicago. Surely Squishy could stop that challenge, but Chicago gets one little extra touch that goes just over the head of Squishy. That gives the challenge in favor of Chicago, and I don't think Garrett really, expected that to happen. And G2 come out first with the first goal.
And a boomer back down the pitch. G2. We're gonna have to see another game 7, but JNAPS what's up against Garrett G. Things have certainly slowed down in the back half of the match. Rizzo pops it up, but he still had enough boost. Don't chip Garrett off the ball. G2 collects some boost as well. It's all about fielding this clear from Garrett and now keeping the continuation. But NRG get in the way, and Justin finds the first challenge to Garrett. Squishy finds a free ball in the third for a pass to Garrett. Slips under JNAPS. Can't quite get by Rizzo, though, so they're going to have to continue to look. Justin tees it for Garrett, and he's stuck it off the post. Justin bumps it up again. A close angle shot for Garrett. Goes by the wayside, and Chicago's challenge gets G2 out.
Oh, Chicago at Garrett. If he could just get it over. Garrett now chasing JNAPS to the net. G2 feeling a lot of pressure here from NRG. Even when they were able to break out for a moment, NRG come roaring back. Justin shut down by JNAPS. That's going to be on G2. That's a great boost pickup from JNAPS in the midfield. Force Justin to go all the way back, but he's here again to take the ball away, and now playing it over to Garrett, and he can't get over it, as NRG are just running circles around G2 at the moment.
They're still connecting on these passes, so while they haven't been on target, it's good enough to keep G2 reacting to your play, and that's how NRG want this to be for as long as possible, because as long as they've spent in the orange half, they still have nothing to show for it. It's looking like game 3. G2 get the first quick goal, and then hang on for 4 grueling minutes. Squishy, oh my gosh, Justin just created chaos in front, and Garrett has to force the ball back out to the corner. Squishy chipped on the play as well, but he gets back to it, and Rizzo takes Squishy out. And so now it's just a battle in a heavyweight boxing arena. Chicago punches this one back to the blue half.
See if G2 can put on some offense here after feeling so much pressure. Can they put something away? There's the shot. Squishy, big save on the goal line. Chicago has boost to work with, gets over one, tries to chip it over Justin, and could do so, but G2 owning that midfield, making sure that NRG don't get a free out, and they certainly won't with Rizzo there.
Rizzo's got to be so frustrating to play against in this match. Not only has he been harassing players, Chicago gets a bump there as well. Rizzo going to have to make the next save. Justin beats him to the ball on the next touch.
Oh, great touch.
Pulls down for a second. That pop will be for Chicago. But it's always a little tilting when you got the guy who's constantly chipping you off the ball to also be making the smart challenges, making good passes out to his team, and just being a general nuisance, keeping you from being able to push past midfield.
Yeah, and that challenge right there that Rizzo had on Justin is so crucial. Justin wants to pop that ball up almost every single time. You know exactly where he's going. He wants that individual play. Having a player like Rizzo is not afraid to go up and chase him and disrupt that rhythm that Justin wants to get into on that air dribble. Does so well, and now Rizzo finds the back wall. No follow-up. G2 playing very conservative here. JSTNs and Chicago. Now it's just Chicago as he does win the challenge.
This is it for NRG to close it out right now. Otherwise, G2 going back to very familiar territory in a game number 7. NRG quite familiar as well. Last chance, and Justin is immediately blocked. JSTN up for that touch immediately, and G2 return to form. We go to Game 7.
Game 7, the last time these two teams met was in the Winter Grid playoffs, and it went to a Game 7 as well, that time in favor of NRG. NRG's won the last 3 times they've played, but G2 won the last, after that, won 6 in a row. So it's been a very close back and forth here, and another Game 7. Not surprised to see it, honestly, Jorby. I thought maybe NRG could close it out, but G2, they get that one goal, and like you said in game, they sit on it. They do a great job of slowing down NRG and not letting them have too many opportunities, and that's certainly what happened here in this game. And for G2, they got to be happy after that performance, coming off the performance they had in Game 5.
Yeah, honestly, and I think that for G2, Rizzo continues to be a rock for this team. Not just on defense, but on his challenges where NRG were assuredly going to put some really, really tough pressure on you. And you just bail your team out with a solid clear, a nice challenge, or just a bump or a chip, whatever way. Rizzo's getting involved in every phase of the game, and it's contributing to G2's success. But they need one more, Corelli, and NRG looking to flip the table right now. Squishy finding Garrett on the go-ahead, but Garrett takes it back to the corner, and it's not exactly how you might draw it up for NRG, as Squishy found it off the crossbar, but they still get the bounce, and Squishy will field it from mid.
Well, demos, one for each side. Now JSTNs wants to go under Garrett. Squishy there to clear it away, and Justin to help out for NRG. Interested to see who really gets the first good couple of chances on the other side, as G2 have really gone for more quality over quantity, or at least just a higher percentage of putting away their shots, while NRG have certainly put on their average shots per game and have sometimes worked out, other times G2 have held them at bay.
And for all of their tries so far, only a shot apiece. Midfield is a battleground. One player might be able to push the ball to the corner, but there's always a defender waiting to receive, and Squishy is the first to move by 2. Now Garrett waiting for it, the shot denied by none other than Rizzo, who comes in for the follow-up clear. It just, with that amount of space, Corelli, when you try to trap that ball and get it away from the other team, it just increases the amount of mind games that are going on the pitch. Shifting as a defender, trying to force an attacker to go a certain way with the ball. As an attacker, really trying to shade your approach. Garrett just launching another shot on net, picking up a demo on the back man for G2. Now the follow-up for Justin, puts on some more pressure in front of the box. But G2 have fielded every attempt by NRG with class as JSTNs gets the next challenge. Rizzo picks up the back-end demo, and G2 get out.
Yeah, that was a massive clear by JNAPs. Not only because it went so far down the field, but also because it was able to buy a lot of time for G2 to collect boost, get back in rotation, and then they pushed it down the field once more after Garrett had dealt with it in the midfield and had to give it back up. So those clears, and like this one again from JNAPs, are very welcome for G2 with how fast that pressure comes from NRG.
Oh, and even there, Rizzo coming right back in. Was able to, well, get demoed on that play. Garrett forces a nice challenge back to Justin, but that one got a little too far away from him. And had he got around a little bit square on the ball on its first touch, that might have been a Justin goal.
Uh-oh, Rizzo might not have this one. It gets over his head. Garrett's there on the goal line, and G2 deal with it as well as you could. Rizzo, that one just out of his reach. And NRG, here they come again. Justin on the ball, putting it off the back wall. Garrett's not going to go. Chicago's backwards is going to be a bit awkward. And in the end, does well enough. Here's Justin, got 2 to go. Coming down to Squishy and looking to play it across, shut down by Chicago.
Still it continues. Garrett sends another one up, but JNAPs is ready for it again. But NRG, it's not a retreat, it's just a reload when they go back to the blue half. Missed there from G2 in midfield, but wasn't a solid touch from NRG, so they may advance. Here, Justin getting chipped off the ball, but he's still got the space to launch it back down to G2 territory. Now G2 waiting for that next touch up. Chicago comes off of his box, and now that touch got a little away from him. A couple demos materialized, but nothing really for NRG to look at in terms of a shot on net. Garrett will send another one forward. We approach a minute left in Game 7. Still scoreless. Squishy, no chance for him. Another clear for G2.
It's scoreless, but G2 have only registered a single shot to the 7 of NRG, but we've talked about it many times. G2 only really need one. They've been able to put away some...
What?
Oh my goodness, Justin!
What?
What happened to the defense of G2? Justin just slices it through right between Rizzo and JNAPs to the back post, and I think they thought it was wide, and out of nowhere, the go-ahead goal for NRG.
Yesterday, I said a player threaded the needle. That wasn't accurate. However, thread the needle is absolutely what Justin did. That's the only spot that no one from G2 could have gotten. And Justin was just trying to put a pressure shot on net. He knows that G2 were rotating back into net. I don't even think he expected that goal to go in. And
now, situation very dire here for G2. 20 seconds left. They haven't put on a lot of offense. They've been backed up most of the game. This one has to be it for G2. Here comes Rizzo to play it across, but Chicago got a piece of Squishy, but it's cleared away.
JNAPs again gets a close read, but right in front of him on the play was Squishy again. To shoo that ball out of midfield. Last chance for G2. NRG with Garrett G get the final touch and the final victory. G2 gets sent down to the lower bracket in a tense match. Like, tense is the only way I can describe it, Corelli.
And a fun one, too. Very even match, but even more so, you saw the speed of the game, how quick it was in the beginning of the series. Started to slow down when it went into G2's favor. Slowed down even more when NRG realized that G2 were doing a lot better, where they weren't just going to roll over for them. And then, you know, the one single goal from Justin there in that final game, just through the defense, is the difference maker here. Is a wonderful series to watch, and it's going to be tough for anyone in the lower bracket to take down G2 with this type of form.
And it's going to be tough for anyone in the upper bracket to take down NRG. What a performance, resilient against G2 in their multiple comeback attempts. But that might not be the only thriller we have left for the day. We have one more match left, and that's the KC Pioneers. Can they take down the teetering Space Station Gaming? Find out after the break.